Okay, so before we actually go to the session 2, this is something which I was not able to complete in the last class. Uh, Concept of project management. See, any IT infrastructure project or process can be implemented only by thorough understanding of the system, the requirements, the technology that is available, and the time frame you have to complete it. You should have a clear-cut idea about all these things. Now, this changes from organization to organization, situation to situation, department to department, etc. And a lot depends on the type of work you're doing, how critical it is, how not so critical it is, and so on and so forth. So then what happens is there is no standard method of solving or managing any project for that matter. Every project is treated on a case-to-case basis. If you're dealing with one project now, look only at that project, the requirements, the deadline, the resources you have, the criticality of the project, etc., and the amount of money that you have, and the benefits of the project that you have. Everything has to be looked into. So that is the reason why the whole concept of this so-called project management of infrastructure doesn't have any standard documentation which will help you out. There is only a set of documentation which are nothing but suggestions to how all you can approach various challenges that are faced normally during the project management process, which are very general in nature and which are not something which you can adopt directly. You have to necessarily understand the relevance of those suggestions offered there with respect to your project that you're handling, which will help you to end of the day solve the challenges that you are facing. So a lot depends on the experience of the person handling this project. Experience matters a lot in this, in project management. Even in software project management, for that matter, experience is the ultimate. You have so many standard procedures available, but it is not always for, when you know that it is not always possible to go by those principles 100%. No. They just give you certain guidelines. Maybe 60% of that is what you can take. Remaining 40% is specific to the project and your understanding of the project and your experience. So here also we have certain standard methodologies which are followed for project management. But always keep in mind that these are not 100% directly implementable. Lot of modifications will have to be done based on the project that you are handling and the challenges that you are facing, which is on a case-to-case basis. So now here we look at something called the PRINCE2 methodology of project management. Now, why do we need project management methodologies? For a common understanding of steps/roles in project management across organizations, be it your customer or be it your vendor, both have a very important role to play. Now, why PM methodology? Be more efficient at implementing projects, to improve maturity of project management process, to have common understanding of steps and roles. Now, this is why you need methodology. As I told you earlier, it is all case-to-case basis, but there are certain things which you can adopt depending on the project you are handling. One is when you have proper procedures in place, at least even standard procedures in place, you become more efficient in handling or implementing projects. Then to improve maturity of project management process, that we'll see as we proceed. Then to have a common understanding of the steps and roles. So everybody should have an idea because all these are teamworks, right? And everybody should have a clear idea about what his role in the project is. So naturally, there should be a framework for the project wherein you can link people with that framework, without which there will be total chaos. Nobody knowing what to do, what is their important, what is their role, and how they are contributing to the project. Now, that is meant by the last statement, to have a common understanding of steps and roles. Now, just as projects are unique, which I told you earlier, so are approaches to project management also. That's why I said every project differs. And based on that, the project management principles that are adopted also differ from project to project. For that, you may have 60% of standard documentation available. Remaining 40%, which is very critical, is based on experience or can be evaluated only based on experience. Now, just as projects, okay. Now, many organizations, now, just as projects are unique, so are approaches to project management. A standard describes what should be done. Now, that is the role of standard. It says what is to be done when you have a particular situation that you are facing. Whereas a methodology describes how things should be done. How do you handle it? That is what is meant by methodology. Many organizations develop their own project management methodologies, especially for IT projects. Custom develop one for your organization or use an existing proven methodologies like Prince2, Agile, Rational Unified Process, and Six Sigma. These are some standard project management methodologies that are available, which you can adopt and make necessary changes for your organization. If you have a very strong team, you can definitely have or create your own project management methodology, especially if your industry is unique. So, for example, in the beginning, when software industry just started, we started hearing about system analysis and design. Then came structured system analysis and design. Then we started seeing software engineering. Then when object-oriented came, we started looking at software engineering from an object-oriented object model point of view, and so on and so on. Now, today we have certain standard procedures in place, which definitely help us in handling various types of projects. This has evolved over a period of time. But look at the first company which started thinking about this. For them, it was a challenge because they did not have anything to refer to. So everything was based on a trial and error model. Today, after so many years, we are having some standards that are in place. But again, it is important for you to understand your requirement, understand your project, and then see what modifications have to be made to the standards that are available. So that is where they say you can use something like Prince2, Agile, Rational Unified Process, and Six Sigma. Now, major certifications for project management. Those who are interested in project management can definitely take certifications in that area, which is one of the basic prerequisite for a project manager, or rather something which will help you to grow as a project manager. Because coding is something I told you earlier, coding is something which we cannot do throughout the life. There is a limit to that. So at the right time, I would say around 30 years, you should be a project leader and then go become a project manager as early as possible. Especially now software projects, if you move into infrastructure projects, those areas are more safe. Because not many people will come into that particular area. Of course, things are changing, but still, if you, and today, as you know, AI tools are also available, which can be combined with these standard procedures and then help you in a better manner. Right. Okay. So Project Management Institute, PMI, with the Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK guide, PMI USA, and Prince2 from the Office of Government Commerce, OGC UK. PMBOK, descriptive versus Prince2, prescriptive. Right. Now, PMBOK, or Project Management Body of Knowledge, is intended to encapsulate all the knowledge that relates to project management. And PMBOK guide has highly descriptive comprehension of PM processes, tools, and techniques. So it is something like a book which contains a lot of descriptions about project management. Now, Prince2 is a methodology and process for managing a project in any industry that improves the chances of successful project outcome. So that is why we say it is prescriptive. It tells you about problems. It tells you about solutions, which you can adapt you accordingly. The other one is describing everything related to project management in detail. Right? Okay. Now, Prince2 is a methodology and process for managing a project in any industry that improves the chances of successful project outcomes. Prince2 takes a prescriptive approach for project management, complete with templates, roles, and responsibilities of multiple stakeholders. Now, project management methodologies from waterfall to agile and everything in between. The PMI PMBOK method, while it may be debatable whether this is a true project management methodology, you will find organizations that say they use the PMI or PMBOK method for managing projects. What this simply means is they break down their project into 5 process groups agreed upon by the Project Management Institute. So PMI, which is the Project Management Institute, has come and defined 5 process groups, which are considered to be some standard groups, and have documented in the guide to the project management body of knowledge, PMBOK, namely initiating, planning, executing, controlling, and closing. Now, these are the 5 process groups. Initiating the project management, then planning the activities, executing it, bringing proper controls to it, and then finally closing it once the project is over. So every stage has got its own processes involved. Now, project management purists, however, insist that PMBOK is not so much a methodology as it is an agreed set of standards and conventions for managing projects. So project management purists, however, insist that PMBOK is not so much a methodology as it is an agreed upon set of standards and conventions for managing projects. So it is basically suggestions given to people who are working in the project management area. It is never a methodology, right? Because I told you earlier, every project is unique in its own way. So how can you define methodologies for that? You have to understand the situation. If you are a part of a particular project today, you should understand that project for it. Tomorrow, as a project manager, you might take another project. Now, there, the needs, procedures, processes, everything will be different. Then comes the Agile family. After Waterfall and PMI, PMBOK, another popular project management methodology is Agile and various framework with which to implement Agile like Scrum/XP, Lean, Kanban, etc. are various methods which help you to. Now, project management methodologies and frameworks. Prince2, a full stack methodology of themes, principles, and processes. PMI, PMBOK is extensive list of standards. So here it is methodology, here it is standards, and Agile or Scrum, principles/process framework. So what are your limitations, under what circumstances are you working? All these kind of things come in Agile, because Agile is a different approach altogether. Actually, Agile is the most popular one also compared to PMI, PMBOK, and Prince2. Prince2 is slowly gathering momentum now. So teams, lean methodology is one way, then principles, Prince2 based on Agile, then process, waterfall. Now Prince2 is spread across all the 3, that is team, principles, and processes, whereas PMI, PMBOK is spread between processes and standards. That means implementing your processes using the standards available. Extreme programming is also XP, is also spread across the two stages, that is process and standards. In processes, again, you have got Scrum, Kanban. Now this moves towards the right using increasing method specificity. Now, project management definitions. Prince2. A project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. Right? So a project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. Now, what is the meaning of that? Whenever you take up a project in an organization, it is almost like an organization within the organization, because it has got a goal, it has got an objective, it has got a set of people who are all working towards completion of that project. These people will normally be not involved in other projects also. So it is almost functioning like an independent organization. They are given all the freedom to do their tasks as they wish. So everything put together, it works as an independent organization within the organization based on the business case. So that is why they say it's a temporary organ. Why it is called temporary? Because it is there only till the project is complete. After that, again, the people are deployed to various other regular tasks they have. So project management. The planning, delegating, monitoring, and control of all aspects of the project, and motivation of those involved to achieve project objectives within the expected performance targets of time, cost, quality, scope, benefits, and risks. This is called project management. So managing your resources based on time, cost, quality, scope, benefits, and risk. Taking all these aspects into consideration, how do you handle a project? Now that comes under project management. Now, this is as per Prince 2. As per PMBOK, project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a product, unique product, service, or result. So they look at a project with a much narrower mindset. So just it is nothing but a group of people working towards creation of a unique product, a service, or a result. That's all, right? Now, project management is application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirement. So that means how do you carry out project management as per PMBOK is a procedure adopted by you to complete the given work, applying the knowledge, the skills, tools, and techniques to the project activities to meet the project requirements. Now, PMBOK guide versus Prince 2 panel. PMBOK, that is knowledge areas, best practices / techniques versus Prince 2 themes and approaches. Now, PMBOK guide and comparable Prince 2 guide. Pages doesn't matter actually. They have this one number of pages just to show you that Prince 2 volume wise is much smaller than PMBOK. Here you have knowledge areas, which are the areas that you must look at. And here you've got processes and themes. Now, under knowledge areas, you should have an idea about integration, scope, time, cost, quality, risk, communication, human resources, stakeholder management, then procurement. Whereas comparable with Prince 2, where you have combined process and themes changes, plans, business case progress, quality change, configuration management, the risks involved, progress, organization, which is limited, and procurement is not covered in Prince 2. That means getting your resources, things are, they are only looking at the work related to implementing the project life cycle as per PMI, the Project Management Institute. Based on PMBOK, disciplines 10 knowledge areas, which a project manager should have or the team should have. One is integration management, scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, human resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, stakeholder management. So this is a set of things or set of resources that are directly or indirectly affected by the implementation of the product. So one is integration management, scope. You must understand what is the scope of the project, how much time you have, what is the estimated cost of the project, how do you make sure that the product is quality product? Then how do you manage your human resources there? Because most of the time, when there are internal projects to be implemented, the people within the organization itself are redeployed or reassigned tasks related to the project until the project is complete. Because it is not always uh, a successful endeavor to bring out people from other companies or other consultants within the organization to solve, I mean, create a complete a project for you because they may not have, it may take more time. So if you have your resources, it's better to use them. So that is where HRM comes into place. Then communication management. There should be a lot of communication within the organization. Everybody should be aware of what is going on in the organization. Majority of the organization primarily fail because information is not passed on. You might wonder what differences it's going to make. Definitely, it is going to make a difference because, say, for example, there is a function happening in one of the departments of your organization. A chief guest is coming. Now, on that day, that department and the set of top management are completely looking at receiving the guest, conducting the program successfully. Maybe 30% of the people in that organization are working in that department. Only these people, now imagine, only these people know about this function, the arrival of the guest, etc. That means the remaining 70% is going to come into the office as they come every day. They are not aware that there is a function going on. They are not aware that there is a chief guest coming in. They are not aware that there is a call gathering happening in the organization. Right? They know nothing about what is happening in the organization. So just imagine the mental situation of those people. They just walk into the office casually. They might not be even formally dressed because normal days company doesn't insist on formal. And when the guest is coming, you see 10 or 15 people like this, very informal, walking into the office. You cannot prevent it. And they are not aware that who is this guest, what is this guest, why is it coming here, etc. Now, see the difference if a communication had gone to each and every staff of the organization stating that there is a function tomorrow for this department and we have a guest coming in the office tomorrow. Automatically, without any specific instructions, people will be mentally and physically ready for this situation. Makes a huge difference. Many organizations find it because when information is given to me, I feel a part of the organization. When the information is not given to me, I don't feel that I'm a part of the organization. Maybe I'm not in the department, but it's an organization. So then there is going to be a division there. Accounts department is having their function. Kind of a talk will start. Now that will slowly grow into department specific activities. That should never happen. Even though it is a finance department function, others should be aware that such an activity is happening in the organization and they should know each and everything about the act. And you can mention this is affecting only the people from the accounts department. Others can report to office like normal days. Makes a lot of difference, makes a huge difference, I would say. It's actually lack of communication. We say the technology has helped us in communicating, etc., but we never use it. And most of the time, what happens is we bombard people with unwanted, wrong information rather than chosen good information itself. So in project management, these small things play a major role in the, everybody feels they are a part of the project. Otherwise, that never happens. That is why communication management is highlighted. Then risk management. We are implementing a new project. Definitely risks are there. Risks are going to be there. And that is going to affect the functioning of the organization. So how do you handle those risks or how do you be prepared for those risks? Risks can be prevented whichever possible. Power supply, for example. Why do we have a UPS? It's a preventive measure that you take. In case the power goes off, your systems are not down. You have uninterrupted power supply for that. And if it goes more than say 1 hour, then you have generator backup so that your work doesn't suffer. These are pre-planned. You assume it to happen anytime. Why do you have this fire safety equipment in your office? For the last 20, 25 years, the building is there and it has not caught fire. Doesn't mean that you don't pay attention to the firefighting equipment. It should be there. You never know when things can go wrong. So that is a kind of risk management. Now, by keeping those devices, does it mean that the fire will not break out? No, the fire can break out at any point of time. What you are trying to do is minimize the damage. When you have these equipments in place and people are aware, sometimes that also happens. The equipments are there. People are not trained how to do it, how to use it. What is the purpose? People will just run away from the building. Had they been trained to use those devices, they could have reduced the damage. That is called risk mitigation. So all these things together, identifying the risk, prioritizing the risk, trying to reduce the impact of the risk, all these come under risk management. So how do you basically handle this? Then procurement management, getting resources. Unless and until you are careful, you might land up spending more money. Then comes the stakeholder. Stakeholder is the beneficiary of the direct or indirect, whoever it is. They also should feel it's a part of the organization. Project life cycle as per PMI. Now, project management book of knowledge, 5 process groups: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing. We had seen that earlier. Initiating, which is a very small phase. Then planning, it goes throughout till the end of the project until it is closed. Then executing starts sometime after planning. When you start working on that, it goes almost to the end of the project. Then monitoring and controlling. As long as the project execution is happening, monitoring and controlling is also there. And finally, closing. Halfway, you start the process of closing the project, and then it ends almost along with planning. This standard PMBOK is a guide rather than a specific methodology. One can use different methodologies and tools, example, Agile, Waterfall, Prince2 to implement the PM framework. Okay, now Prince expands to project in controlled environments. That is expansion of Prince, projects in controlled environments. Now the methodologies is structured process-based project management method endorsed as the industry standard by the United Kingdom government. UK government is the body which actually endorsed Prince as a project management methodology. It stands for projects in controlled environments. It helps you plan and control a project of any size around a structure of key activities, ensuring that the benefits of a project always outweigh the cost. So when you come up with a new project, primary objective is it should be cost effective. It should be beneficial for an organization. Otherwise, why do you have a project in place? So that is where a lot of importance is given to make sure that the benefits of the project is more than the cost incurred in carrying out the or implementing the project. In the UK and Europe, Prince2 is the project management methodology of choice and is required by UK government for all projected commissions. So in UK, it is more stringent to have Prince2. So what all does it take care of? Change, progress, business case, organization, quality, plan, risks. Prince2 process. And then you have Prince2 principles also. Now Prince2 framework in a nutshell. Prince2. There are 8 processes, 8 components, 3 techniques. All looking at cost, time, output is quality. Directing a project, starting up a project, initiating a project, controlling a stage, managing stage boundaries, closing the project. In controlling a project, we also look at managing project delivery. And initiating a project also has got inputs. In both these cases, you have inputs from the activity called planning. So these stages help you to realize and evaluate concept of Prince2 framework. Components and techniques. Components. Business case, justification of the project. Organization, roles, tasks, responsibilities, mandates. That gives you an idea about the organization, the size and the structure. Plans, different kinds of plans that are necessary. Controls, mechanisms to measure, drive, and splitting up in phases. Risk of management of risk, analyzing and controlling of risk. Quality in a project environment, making sure that the products have the right quality measures. Configuration management, registration and managing of products and project. Change control, managing changes and disruptions. These are the 8 components, and 3 techniques are product-based planning, change control technique, quality review technique. Most of these points we've discussed earlier. I don't want to repeat it. Now, project success criteria of Prince2. For a project to be successful, according to Prince2, the following are the key aspects. What are they? The methods to be used. Organization. How will the work be organized? What are the main factors, variables that need to be taken into account? Then roles and responsibilities. Who will have responsibility for what? Progress monitoring. How will progress be monitored and communicated? So these are the factors that decide upon the success of a project. Methods should be proper. Organization should be clear. Then what are the main factors, variables that need to be taken into account? Roles and responsibilities. Who will have responsibility for what? Then progress monitoring. How will project progress be monitored and communicated? Now, Prince2. Project characteristics and variables. 7 principles into 7 themes into 7 processes. 7 principles. The 7 principles provide a best practice framework for the project. They define Prince2 project. 7 themes. The 7 themes provide provides guidance on aspects of project work, which should be addressed at various points during execution. They relate to each other and are integrated into the process. 7 processes. The 7 processes offer a journey through the project so that critical aspects of project work are either neither forgotten nor treated in a trivial manner. Now, Prince2 versus Agile way. Now, project management, both can coexist, right? Project management and product and Agile methodology. Prince2 versus Agile way. So, project management towards product delivery is the Prince2 way, and the other one is the reverse. Prince2 Agile. Behaviors, transparency, collaboration, rich communication, self-organization, exploration. All these we have. Transparency is basically everybody is aware of what is happening, and people, there are no hidden things in the job. Collaboration, a lot of teamwork and interdepartmental, inter-team collaborative effort going in. Rich communication, communication has to be proper and should be very, not limited to anything. Communication has to flow very freely. Then self-organization, you should have an idea of how the organization is, and then it should be slightly dynamic also, because when a project happens, it is very difficult to keep the organizational structure static. It keeps changing. It has to change, right? And finally, exploration. Keep exploring the various areas of the concept and frameworks taking the agile is Scrum, Kanban, Burn chart, information radiators, user stories, right? Then sprints, sign-in framework, and then Moscow. Now, Prince with Scrum. So you're trying to combine Scrum of agile principles with the Prince 2 methodology. Executive, starting up a project, directing a project. Now, the role of executive is very, very important in the project management stage. They are responsible for starting up the project or making sure, motivating, getting people to start the project, and then they should show the sense of direction of the project. What is our objective, right? Those kind of things. Then management, starting up a project, initiating a project, controlling a stage, managing stage boundaries, closing delivery, managing product delivery through Scrum methodology. That is where Scrum comes into Prince 2. Now, summary of Prince 2 process model, advantages and limitations. Advantages. Offers the depth in project management practices, how to. Knowledge is organized around principles, processes, and teams. Description and templates of project management products are provided. Tailoring approach and guidelines are provided. Focus is on products and other key principles. Management by exception, allowing more focus on areas requiring attention. Managing by stages, that is, only one stage is committed at a time. Emphasis is on business case and achieving the benefits. Detailed description of developing project documentation is provided. So these are things which we have directly or indirectly discussed earlier. So all these are advantages of Prince 2 model. Then limitation, Prince 2, I repeat, what is the full form of Prince 2? Projects in a controlled environment. Remember that always. Limitations, detailed techniques are not provided to plan and carry out project activities. So only steps and directions are given, the details of which are not carried out properly. Then leadership and people management skill are not covered in the method. Little flexibility offered on adapting the best practices as it is more a method, right? Then little emphasis on guidance or development of project managers' skill sets. Now, project and program management, introduction and terminology to this. Project defined. Project is a well-defined, we had seen this in the first 2-3 slides. Project is a well-defined term in the industry and means the same in all disciplines. So it is clearly defined and the meaning is the same in all disciplines, whichever area you are working. A complex, non-routine, one-time effort limited by time, budget resources, and performance specifications designed to meet customer needs. Right? A complex, non-routine, one-time effort limited by time, budget resources, and performance specifications designed to meet customer needs. A project is unique, has specific time frame, not a continuing or ongoing activity like automobile production, requires resources, interdependent activities, and has a high degree of uncertainty. That is something which you always must keep in mind. Project always has got uncertainty. Everything you plan, everything that you foresee, every thing that you do doesn't guarantee that the output is going to be 100%. There will be limitations and there has to be, it's only natural for uncertainty to be there in any type of project, in any work area. That's why they said it is a well-defined term in the industry and means the same in all disciplines, whether it's IT, whether it's civil engineering, whether it's construction, whether any project that you're talking about. It's the same. The meaning is the same. Uncertainty is inherent in any project. On uncertainty scale, job, routine work versus projects. Routine works, definitely your day-to-day jobs could be to a certain extent certain, would give you certain outputs. There is no scope for uncertainty. Uncertainty is minimal there. But in the case of project, which is once in a while thing, uncertainty becomes very, very high, right? Jobs, repetition of very well defined and well understood tasks with very little uncertainty. You're supposed to give bill, generate bills. You know how to do it, and you know the output is bills. Chances of a bill not coming or bill not happening is very, 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 very minimal, right? But if you're going to implement an infrastructure for a supermarket, that is a project. After all the planning, after everything, you might find that the output is not certain. Jobs, repetition of very well defined and well understood tasks with very little uncertainty. Exploration, example, finding a cure for cancer, the outcome is very uncertain. Projects in the middle. So jobs are routine. That's what you call a job. And uncertainty is very less. Whereas in the case of projects, you do a lot of exploration where uncertainty of outcome is rather high. So projects are something in between jobs and exploration. It has got some standard methods which you need to follow. Now, project versus program. A program is not simply a set of projects, but a project of projects managed with an overarching objective. Program defined, a series of coordinated, related, multiple projects that continue over an extended time and are intended to achieve a goal. A higher level group of projects targeted at a common goal. Example, project. Completion of a required course in project management. Program. Completion of all courses required in a business major. Right. So project, an example is completion of a required course in project management. Whereas a program is completion of all courses required for a business major. So a series program is basically a series of coordinated, related, multiple projects that continue over an extended time and are intended to achieve its goal. Project in a nutshell. It is non-routine. It is planned, has an established objective, project goal, what you call, has a defined lifespan with a well-defined beginning and an end, requires across the organizational participation, involves doing something never being done before. Project can be that also. Has specific time, cost, and performance requirements. Made up of several different phases. Large and complex normally. Has a structured methodology for planning and execution. Now, project management, anything we can't measure, we can't manage. So management involves the following activities: planning, organizing, staffing, port scope, what you call, with certain additional parameters. So planning, organizing, staffing, directing, measurement, monitoring, controlling, innovating, representing. So management or project management consists of these many activities. Now, project management activities. One is a feasibility study. Is the project technically feasible and worthwhile from a business point of view? So whenever you decide upon a project and decide to go ahead with it, one thing you must look at is the project technically feasible? And another aspect also has to be looked at, which is called economic feasibility. Is it worth spending so much of money on this project? Are the benefits going to outweigh the money that you spend on it? So feasibility study, is a project technically feasible and worthwhile from a business point of view? Then planning, only done if project is feasible. Then execution, implement plan, but plan may be changed as we go along during execution. So you have a feasibility study telling you, is it worth doing? Then plan, how do we do it? And project execution, do it. These are the typical activities of project management. On the whole, now these are things which you should have in mind wherever you are doing, whatever you are working on, right? Because these are some basic uh, rules of the game without which you cannot handle any work for that matter. Because even if tomorrow you are not in the IT industry, there also the same rules apply. How do you handle? You want to start your own business. Now that is a project for you. How do you go about it? So first study whether it's feasible. Then there you also look at geographical feasibility. When you start a business, you must also see whether that what you are providing is needed in that locality. You can't go and start a van usage showroom in the remotest part of some state where people will never buy that just because your product is good and it has got a brand value, etc. etc. So that means that is not feasible. Technical feasibility. You want to provide telemedicine in a remote part of the state. Now, is it technically feasible? Is a question where do you get reliable internet connectivity there? Only then you will be able to provide telemedicine facility. Connectivity has to be there. Otherwise, it is not technically feasible. So these kind of things have to come into your mind wherever you are. So the terminologies and what you call the advantages, disadvantages, activities, etc., should be there in your mind in whichever area that you are working. So project phases. Typical project lifecycle phase consists of 4 phases. One is identifying the need, develop a proposed solution, perform the project, and terminate the project. So these are the 4 phases of project lifecycle. Identify the need. So find out what is the requirement, then come out with a solution for that. Then carry out the project. And then finally, at some point in time, you have to terminate the project also, or project becomes a never-ending process, which will ultimately end up in loss. You know, there are a lot of government projects which we have seen. In some places, you can see there is approach roads coming to a railway overbridge, but the bridge on top of the railway line is not complete because these are handled by two different authorities. Anything above the railway line should be done by the Indian Railways. The roads, etc., is normally done by the PWD of the state. So they completed their job. In some cases, you can see the railway overbridge there, but the approach roads are not there. And it has been there for years. So unless and until when they started thinking about the project, they should put a deadline and communicate with everybody and make sure that the project is completed. That never happens. When they get some fund, they do something, finish with that. Whether it's going to be used or not and all, God alone knows, kind of stuff. So there is no termination to the project. That means if a project is not terminated properly, it is not successful. That is the meaning of that. A project manager, one of the most unambiguous role in any industry, manages temporary, non-repetitive activities. Just give me a break. 2 minutes. Okay, so project manager. Project manager, one of the most unambiguous role in any industry, right? Manages temporary, non-repetitive activities and frequently acts independently of the formal organization, right? Though there is a formal organization, manager has got flexibility and freedom to change depending on situations. Of course, a primary objective is the same, successful completion of the project, but within the given framework, he can change decisions depending on situation. That marshals resources of the project, he keeps a strict check on the resource utilization for the project so that the profitability of the project is maintained, economic feasibility of the project is still maintained, has direct interface with customer and other stakeholders, right? He keeps on interacting with people to understand the progress and monitor the progress of the project, and then finally how the stakeholders are happy about the progress of the project, right? And if they have any opinions, they are taken into and then discussed with the project team. Provides direction, coordination, and integration to the project team. So he holds the project team together, right? Then is responsible for end-to-end performance and success of the project. So he's completely responsible for the project from its beginning to the end when it is handed over to the manages teams. Induct right people at the right time, motivate teams for performance, resolves issues and conflicts. Does it need any explanation? Then address issues by escalating at the right time and takes appropriate decisions. The criticality of project management. How important is project management? Factors leading to increased use of project management. Compression of the product life cycle, months to weeks, trying to reduce it. Global competition, time to market pressures. Sometimes what happens, you will have to complete the product based on the market pressure. Say, for example, mobile phone. You have come out with a new idea and you are planning to release that new model in another 6 months. But suddenly you come to know that there is another company which has got this feature coming up. So then it's a huge challenge for you because you have spent a lot of money on R&D, right? And you're going to bring this product which you expected to be revolutionary, and suddenly there is another company coming with the product much better than what you have with your hand. What do you do now? You cannot simply scrap things. So the only thing probably you can handle is you try to find out when they're going to come out with the product. They might be taking, say, 6 months. You had planned for 6 months. What you do is you try to do it in 3 months so that before their product comes out into the market, you release the product into the market and try to sell the products as early as possible. Now, that is the whole idea about flash sale, etc., that happens on Amazon, Flipkart, etc. You might have come. Nowadays, you don't hear much about that, but once upon a time, that was the idea. That is selling the products off in a jiffy, right? How fast you can sell those products off, because you don't have time to introduce the product, advertise it, put it into the market, and then let people accept it. You want people to buy it right away, because if you hold on to that, what will happen is, there's another competitor coming with a better product. So once that comes out in the market, nobody is going to buy your product. And if the competitor's product is price-wise very competitive with your product, then you all the more critical it becomes, right? So compression of life. So you try to reduce from weeks to months. Global competition, time to market process. You don't have much time to market the product. Knowledge explosion. People are becoming very aware of things, right? So they know when you come out with the product, they actually understand whether it is going to stay or not, etc. Then corporate downsizing, cost competitiveness, increase customer focus, which is design thinking, understand the customer's requirement, and then design your product accordingly. Then expansion of economy and resultant opportunity. How software project management is different from any other project management. Now let us compare software project management with other project management. Software project management involves a lot of uncertainty, evolving requirements and technology. Changes happen very frequently and changes are permanent. So then you should be, as a project manager, You cannot do away with, you cannot say you cannot accept changes. You will have to handle those changes, but in such a way that it doesn't affect the resource utilization and deadlines of the project. So it's a huge challenging task, unlike the other thing. Say, for example, if you're talking about a metro rail construction project, everything is put on paper beforehand and signed and documented. Then the only challenge probably you might face is lack of manpower resources or scarcity of material or cost escalation. Say cement cost going up, right? Iron, what do you call rods cost going up, right? Manpower suddenly coming down. Due to, say, for example, during COVID, what happened? Everything went for a toss. Nothing used to work in those days. So there could be some things which are beyond your control, but still affect the efficiency and functioning of the project. So uncertainties are very high. Then large amounts of money are spent on ICT infrastructure and application development. Software projects often fail. Standards Group claim only third of ICT projects are successful. 82% were late and 43% exceeded budget. So that is the rule of the game. If you are not careful, only a third of projects are successful. The rest, 83% are late. That means there is no point in getting it after that. Then 43% exceeded their budget. Companies were not prepared to spend so much of money, but they had to spend more money for the ultimately ending up in a loss because economically it might not be any more feasible. And poor project management, a major factor in these failures. So the alertness and involvement of the project manager is in most cases the culprit. Software project, is it a different animal? Are software projects really different from other projects? Not really, but these contribute to the messiness in software projects. Other projects, like I told you, a building construction, everything is documented and finalized and finished. There's no change after that. But that is not so in the case of software. It keeps on changing, right? Then invisibility, you don't see the results. Like, say, for example, if it is a bridge, you see results. It is visible to you. So you can measure it. You can say that 50% work is over or 25% work is over. You were supposed to finish 50% work. But in software, that never happens. It's very difficult to understand and decide to what extent it is over, right? Then complexity is very huge. Conforming to the requirements, that is also a huge challenge. Takes more time. Flexibility, you need to provide flexibility, and this flexibility could be a pain for you later on. Then changing requirements, constantly people coming up with new requirements. Then skill requirement, skills needed for that particular problem. Make software more problematic to build than engineered artifacts in other fields. Professional software development. Software development employs several formal methods like prototyping, agile, DevOps to address the challenges. Methodology is a set of methods. You have certain set of methods, a way of working. You have a plan, start and end dates for each activity, staffing, tools and materials, etc., and the context based on which you go and take a plan. Defining success in a project. Success is the degree to which objectives, quality, schedule, cost are met, and quality, scope of delivery, keeping in mind the time and the cost. In general, if, for example, project is running out of time, this can be recovered or by reducing scope or increasing cost. Similarly, cost and scope can be protected by adjusting the corners of the project triangle. So in some cases, you can compromise on the quality, thereby reducing the time and the cost, right? Sometimes you can reduce the time, thereby trying to reduce the cost, right? Or sometimes you reduce the scope and quality to save more time and cost, thereby maintaining a balance and making sure that the project is feasibly delivered. Project success also means success criteria can be related to long-term benefits or less tangible assets like improved skill and knowledge, creation of assets that can be used on future projects, example, software libraries, improved customer relationship that leads to repeat business success. schedule, budget, product, quality, satisfaction. So on schedule, on budget, good product, good quality, customer satisfaction. These are the factors which decides the success. Project stakeholders. These are people who have a stake or interest in the project. In general, they could be users, customers, or developers and implementers. Customers could be internal or external to the organization. They could be within the project team, team members, including project manager, outside the project team, but with the same organization, finance, business development, CXO, HR, etc. Outside both the project team and the organization, different stakeholders may have different objectives, needs to define common project objectives. As per PMBOK, you can see here regulatory agencies, customer users, business partners, right? Customer users, business partners, sellers and suppliers, functional managers, operational management, then portfolio manager, program manager, the sponsor, then finally the project manager, PM team, project team members. Now, social and technical aspects of project management. Project management is both an art, social, cultural skills, and science, formal methods and tools. Now, if you look at social cultural skills, you understand, you come to see leadership, problem solving, teamwork, negotiation, politics, customer expectations. On the technical side, you see the scope, WBS, schedules, resource allocation, baseline budget, status reports. Software project management summary. Project management is equal to people plus customer expectations plus resource management. Projects are non-routine. They are not something which you do every time. Thus, there is an element of uncertainty. In addition, managing software projects involve dealing with complexity, uncertain or changing requirements. The role of a project manager is well defined, and she is responsible for the success of the project, managing teams, stakeholders, and resources. Then, software professional software development involves adoption of formal software engineering models. Now, application of concepts in a real life scenario. Tax networks in an organization. This is a case study actually. Probably you can go through it once you get the PPT. I'll be sharing it, right? Now what I'll do is put a quiz link in the chat box, which you can answer.